Hello and welcome to Smash Hit Sports. I'm Cody, that's Nick, and today we give our predictions for every single Big 12 team. We give conference championship predictions, and then we are going to do a Big 12 draft. We're going to draft everything the Big 12. Our ACC preview episode is already out, so if you want to go see that, check that out on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. And before we get into this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is the best way to support.
The best draft I've ever had in my life.
I think McMillan has a legitimate chance to win the Bolitnikoff Award this year.
Dude, yeah, I just got goosebumps.
I'm not going to beat around the bush. This is my worst team in the conference.
Anything can happen in this conference, man.
But Nick, let's get into the Big 12. So
Sure.
we are going to start with Arizona. And this is a team you were higher on Arizona last year than I was. Both of us were not high enough. Both of us were not high enough.
I eventually got to a point where I was higher than I think anyone in the world. And I might be the same way this year. But yes, to start the year, we weren't, which is strange.
Yeah, I was so worried about their defense, and then it didn't matter because their offense was so good, and their defense wasn't half bad either. So
yeah, I think no one was really expecting, like, that happens in college football, like with 4 or 5 teams a year, where just there's no logical reason for this team to have this massive drastic shift into being good. So no one sees it coming, but it makes sense in hindsight. It's just I don't judge ourselves for not seeing it coming.
This Arizona team heading into this year, though, could have been in a god-awful situation. Jedd Fisch left for Washington, and I thought for sure that McMillan and Noah Fifita were going to leave with him, and that was not the case. They retain their 2 best talents. They have a great running back. They have a really solid offensive line. I think Brent Brennan is a solid hire. They brought in Dino Babers as their offensive coordinator. I think that's a pretty solid get. This is a team that they had a chance to really implode in the offseason, and they absolutely did not. Their win total is 7.5. They are plus 1,000 to win the Big 12, and they could win this conference. The Big 12 is wide ass open.
Yeah, the Brent Brennan hire, I think a lot of people think is lamer than it really is, because you got to remember, like, he was the head coach of San Jose State for 7 years, and I'm pretty sure before he was there was one season in their 50-year history that was like thought to be good, and it was maybe they went 11-2 in like 2003 or something. Then they went back to being garbage. Hire Brent Brennan, and Brent Brennan has them ranked in the top 25 at some point in like 2019. Like last year, yeah, their record wasn't 11-2, but they were a really good team. You could see it better than the stats show how good of a coach he is. So I feel like a lot of casual fans are like, why, like, what a lateral hire. Arizona is going to go back to being irrelevant. I think there's a chance that Brent Brennan is as good as Jedd Fisch, and this Arizona team has enough talent to be really, really good in the Big 12. So I'm very high on them again because they have that quarterback play. They have maybe the best cornerback and the best wide receiver in the conference as well in McMillan, and then Takario Davis in corner, which he's a nuts.
Yeah, McMillan, we'll see how our Big 12 draft goes, but I think he is the best wide receiver in this conference. I think there's a potential he's one of the top 3 wide receivers in the country. And with how often I think they are going to throw the football, with how good his quarterback play is, I think McMillan has a legitimate chance to win the Bolitnikoff Award this year. I think he is going to put up some dummy numbers. He is like a prototypical NFL caliber, size, speed, strength, everything that you want from a wide receiver. He can high point the football like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
This man is good. Like I legitimately think he's going to put up silly numbers. Numbers we have not seen from a wide receiver in a long time.
And this is the other thing. So Arizona had kind of like that dream season last year, and like let's say TCU 2 years ago has that dream season, and some people are thinking, well, TCU is going to have another dream season, and they don't. And people now are saying it's not going to happen to Arizona again because you only have your one chance to have that dream season. But TCU didn't have anyone. No one stayed. Everyone left. Max Duggan's gone. Quentin Johnson's gone. Blah blah blah. Kendre Miller, all that. Arizona, I feel like their most important pieces stayed. So
Yeah.
to me, are people just overthinking it? Because that team was so electric last year. I'd be shocked if Jed Fish was like 90% of the reason why. I'd be shocked.
Yeah. The other thing with this Arizona schedule is it's brutal up front. Two of their first four games are against, in my opinion, two of the best teams in the Big 12, and they're both on the road. They go at Kansas State in week 3, they get a bye, and then they go at Utah in week 4. That is a brutal, brutal way to start their schedule. There's a chance that they go 2-2 to start the year, and they still might finish 10-2. Like
That's the thing.
that's still
The rest of their
that's still
schedule
possible.
the rest of their schedule is pretty easy. Like no hard road games after Utah, and Utah's a tough place to play. But Arizona and Utah, they go way back, right? So I don't like. I think Kansas State makes a lot more sense as a loss there for me. But I think Utah's really 50-50, and the rest of their schedule, I have them winning. So
really, what is your record prediction for these guys?
I have them written here. I have them at 12-1.
That's insane. That's the craziest. You're higher on this team than anybody else. This win total 7.5.
Yeah, no, this is what I'm saying. It's nobody. It's very confusing to me. Very confusing to me why people think that Arizona is just going to regress when there are no signs of that, in my opinion. And they were very good. They were like a couple. We would always talk about it. A couple games away from being like an 11-win team last year, because they lost.
Damn.
They lost in double overtime to USC, I think.
Yep.
Last year, and then there was another game where they lost and shouldn't have. And they were incredible, and they are returning so much talent. I think it's a lot of people just don't. They value Jed Fish that much.
That's fair.
Their schedule's not hard, Cody. I mean that. Now, obviously,
I
12
get that, but like
is high.
12-1 is a bonkers. Okay, hey, we'll keep it moving. We differ on this one. I'm high on Arizona. I have them at 9-3. I mean, that's still
11-1. I have
above their win total.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Damn. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the other team in the Arizona. Arizona State. They have a very difficult schedule. They go at Texas State, which is no easy game in the out of conference. They also play Mississippi State. They play Oklahoma in the out of conference, which is going to be a difficult game. Two SEC or is it Missouri State? MS State? Is that Mississippi State or Missouri State?
Mississippi State. They play.
Yeah. So this is a brutal schedule. That being said, Rashada transferred out. I don't know anything about this team except that I like Kenny Dillingham as a coach, but this roster is a bottom tier roster. So
nothing much to say. I have them going 4-8. I think they start the year Mississippi State, Texas Tech. Maybe they have a free win in there, but just off the bat, season's kind of going to be derailed in my opinion. If they can, pull off an upset in one of those games, then maybe they can ride a little momentum. I don't see it happening. And there's just not much to talk about in as far as the roster goes. Like, I don't really know any of their players.
How many games do you think they were favored in last season in the Pac-12?
Probably like 2, 0, 1.
They were favored in one game all year. They were underdogs in 11 of 12. Yeah, this team stinks, and I think they will continue to stink. And it's not like I like Kenny Dillingham, and it pains me to say that. So I have them going 3-9 under the win total, as do you.
I got them 4-8.
Okay. Let's keep it. Yeah. Still under the win total. Keeping it moving to Baylor. Baylor's returning quite a bit of returning production. They have a fairly strong transfer portal class, at least compared to what they have in the past. They're trying to spend a little bit of NIL money. They came out of practice after Big 12 media days in the "We bought our players" shirts, which I thought was very, very funny.
Yeah.
But this is a team that last year they were 3-9, and 2 years ago they were Big 12 champs. So where are we at with this Dave Aranda squad?
Yeah, it's a tough schedule. I think I have them losing every road game that you would think they would lose, like like Kansas State, Utah, West Virginia, like all those teams, and then a couple home games against Kansas, Oklahoma State. So it's like 6 losses feel pretty realistic. So they're kind of being they're hunting for a bowl game. Are they going to get there? Maybe. I don't know what their win total is. I would guess it's probably 5.5, and I
Nailed it.
would yeah, and then 5-7 is what I have them at.
You must have read my guide. I mean, that's pretty crazy that you had that memorized. I
Maybe.
have, yeah, their win total's 5.5. I have them at 4-8. I think they brought in Daquan Finn from Toledo, and I think that's going to make this at least an exciting team. This is a team that's going to put up points. I like Jake Spavital, their offensive coordinator. He was the offensive coordinator at Cal last year. Um, he's a bright mind, but I don't think this defense is going to be very good. So this would be a team that I will be betting the over in a lot of their games because they are going to score points, but they're going to let up a lot of points. I have them going 4-8, so not
Yeah.
not
Yeah, I
far
think I
off.
think we're gonna see at least a flash in the pan this year from Baylor because really
Yeah,
last year it was a
we
lot of bad.
yeah.
Um, and with Dave Miranda, like how long is that leash? So we kind of have to see a flash in the pan, and I think we're gonna see at least signs of like, oh, Baylor, like they're kind of fun. People are gonna be like, this isn't like a tragic team anymore, even though we both don't have them making a bowl.
Yep. Keeping it moving to BYU, which a pretty difficult strength of schedule. They return 65% of their production, which isn't bad, but this is a team that went 5-7 last year, and it just felt like there are some teams that were 5-7 and close to a bowl. BYU did not feel like that. And I don't think they're going to feel like it again this year. I'm not high on the Cougars.
Yeah, and again, this one, I I don't know their win total either, but I think this is the bottom of the Big 12 by like a decent chunk for me. BYU
Wow.
does not look like from the makeup of the roster and everything about this team, um, does not give me any hope whatsoever, um, which is disappointing because I like that stadium a lot. I like the the passion and the history. Like BYU's had some really fun teams. This year's just not going to be that. I have them going 3-9, which is the low bar in that conference for me this year, and
Wow.
I feel
Wow.
confident. I don't know
There
their win total. If you say it's 6.5 or something, then I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked. But I don't know.
It's not. It's 4.5.
Okay,
I
okay,
just 3-9 is low, but they play an out of conference game at Wyoming. That's always tough. They play an out of conference game against SMU, which is going to be difficult.
they'll
So
lose that for sure.
there's some game like there are a lot of tough games on this schedule,
I mean,
and
I
I don't
think they
blame
could
you.
go winless in conference and then just lose that SMU game, and that's that. It's
Ugh.
wraps.
Yeah, I have them going 5-7, so still not great, but a little bit better than you.
Hmm.
Um, let's talk about Cincinnati next. This I'm not going to beat around the bush. This is my worst team in the conference.
Okay.
Even though I have Arizona State with a worse schedule, I think the Cincinnati team is a worse team. They have a phenomenal defensive tackle in Dante Corleone,
Yeah,
and
love them.
their defense should be decent. He
They've got a really
legitimately might.
good left guard, I think. Luke Kandra. Do you know
Okay,
him? He's
I
probably he's like a top 5 like best O lineman of the year candidate.
Damn. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
he's
fair.
great.
Um, that being said, I just have zero faith in the weapons. I have zero faith in the quarterback. I have zero faith in Scott Satterfield. I have a ranking of every single head coach in college football. I have Scott Satterfield at 69th out of 70 power conference teams.
Mm.
They went 3 and
Interesting. Who
9.
I wonder who's below him, if you can say.
It it's an SEC coach. I'll tell you that much. We'll talk
Is
about
it?
it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
It's
I think I can guess
yeah,
naturally.
yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
5-5, or their win total's 5.5. They played like Towson out of conference, which is fairly easy, but um, I they play Towson, Pitt, and Miami of Ohio are three like winnable games to start the year. None of those, like Pitt and Miami, like that's I have them going 4-8. I think this team stinks. I think Arizona State has a much more difficult schedule, which is why I have them going 3-9. But don't get it twisted. I think this Cincinnati team is a worse team.
Okay, interesting. So we disagree a little bit here. I do not think Cincinnati is going to have this awesome season by any means, but I actually think that they have a good chance of making a bowl. And again, I don't know any of these win totals, so this is kind of I love doing this part of the podcast because you tell me, and I get to see if I'm insane, which it seems like with Arizona, I am insane.
Yep.
But with Cincinnati, it seems like I'm right on the ball, right? And you might be a little low on them. I don't know much about Scott Satterfield. I don't really have an opinion. So maybe he is the worst coach, and maybe you are right. But let's assume that he's competent. I think this roster is good enough. I don't hate this schedule. I have them going 6-6, and I almost had them going 7-5, but I have them going six
Wow.
and six. Yeah,
So
and I'm
we are
making
on
a
the
bowl.
other side of a bowl game there. Their win total was 5.5. So we're on the other side of that too. We got to talk about Colorado.
I'm very, very
We
interested
have
in what
to
you
talk
are
about
going to say.
Colorado. So let's put everything out here. Obviously, their 4-8 record last year was not great, and they were god awful in conference play. I believe they had one win in conference last year, and that was Arizona State. There was somebody in the AP poll who has a vote who should have their vote immediately relegated to somebody else because they put Colorado in their top 25. That being said, this team is returning a ton of production. They're returning Travis Hunter, who is one of the best players in college football. They're returning Shedeur Sanders, who is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And they went balls to the wall in the transfer portal for what is now the second year in a row.
Yep.
But god damn, this is a tough schedule. This is a tough schedule.
It's definitely not easy. Especially because like the Colorado State game is really underrated to me. Because that team, maybe not this year, but they are not far away from being like genuinely competitive Mountain West favorite type vibe. And I don't know. It's tough. Like I want to have them beating Nebraska and Colorado State. I can't do that. I don't have enough faith. I think Colorado roster wise, and I like Deion Sanders again. I do. I think that he is a good coach. I don't know if I agree with his practices, but like in theory, this should work this year. It should work. Maybe not 10-2, but it should work. But the schedule is just really tough. Like, are they going to beat Arizona on the road, Kansas on the road? I think they get Utah at home and Oklahoma State at home, but those aren't gimmies at all. They could go 6-6 or 5-7. That could absolutely happen. I have them at 7-5.
I have them at 6-6. Their win total is 5.5. So we both have them making a bowl game. They start week 1 against North Dakota State, and that is going to be a bloodbath of a like
I don't
tough,
even know if you do that. Wow.
physical North Dakota State team is going to come in. That game's going to be appointment television. Their game week 2 at Nebraska, that game is going to be appointment television. That's a night game in Memorial Stadium for Nebraska. That'll be electric. At Colorado State, Torrey Horton against Travis Hunter for that matchup, wide receiver corner, is going to be unreal.
And
I
that
will
was
say,
must-watch television last year. That game
yeah.
was like one of my favorite games of the year. Staying up till 2 a.m. watching like triple overtime. It was awesome.
So while I think Colorado makes a bowl, I think they go over their win total, and I think once again they will be one of the most watched teams in college football, and for good reason because they are going to be damn fun to watch.
So if they go, let's say they go 7-5, would you say that is like very successful season given
Yes,
everything? Right.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I'm
I
thinking
understand.
in my head, yeah, that has
They
to be considered.
they're the most bet national champion currently, um,
Mhm.
which is stupid, but that's just so unrealistic. It's ridiculous. It's
I know because I
plus
think
a
if they go
hundred
seven to
thousand.
five, I think people are going to be like, oh, like they're playing in the Gasparilla Bowl, and what a bust. Like Dion's just a bust, and that's just people
Yeah,
that
but
don't understand. Because 7-5 would be really good.
if you were to take any power conference program in the country and go from one win to 7-5 with a bowl in 2 years, that's a tremendous 2 year stretch.
Yeah, exactly, and what he's
That's a
doing in the
tremendous
transfer
2 year
portal and
stretch.
everything, it
Yeah,
almost feels like that really should happen this year. It really should. Like
yeah,
it's not like this like slow rebuild. He has rebuilt it as fast as possible. So I think it's weird because like 4-8 would be a massive failure in my opinion.
hmm
But like if they don't make a bowl, they go 5-7. I don't like it. Feels a little weirder. It's like I need to see improvement.
yeah. It depends
Is
on
all.
like how those 5 wins are. If they beat the 5 bad teams and lose to the 7 good teams on their schedule, like then it's like, all right, well, we kind of know what they are. But if they go in and they sprinkle a win, against Arizona in there, or a win against Kansas in there, you're like, oh shit, like they're still pretty good. So that's enough Colorado talk for now. Moving on to Houston, another team with a very difficult strength of schedule. They play UNLV, who is one of my favorite teams in the group of 5. We'll talk about them when we get to our best of the rest schedule. They play at Oklahoma, which is a brutal, brutal matchup. I think this team is just so far away from competing right now. They're just so far away. This team was 4-8 last year. Dana Holgerson is out. Willie Fritz is in. Houston, we got a
Yeah.
problem. I had to say it. Win total is 4.5. This team stinks. I have them going 3-9.
I have him 4-8. And again, yeah, it's just you kind of got to give Fritz a year because if yeah, there's just no way that he can do anything with this roster. And honestly, I like I'm doing an online dynasty in EA college football, and we all picked like bad Power 5 teams. So I'm Stanford, and one of my buddies is Houston, and I thought Stanford was bad, right? But
Mhm.
Houston, as far as that game goes, I think is far bar none the worst Power 5 team. Like they have nothing. Like bad recruiting class as well. Like it's just bad. 4-8 might even be a stretch. I think 3-9 makes a lot more sense. But I'm going 4-8.
Yep. Iowa State, this is a team that I am very uniquely high on. And I would like to get out ahead of this. They're good. They're not like, oh, they're sneaky good. No, this is a good team. Rocco
Mm.
Becht is a real legitimate quarterback. Remember a couple years ago when we were talking about like, oh, well, Matt Campbell's going to go to this job. Well, Matt Campbell should take this job. Well, Matt Campbell should take this job. There were a couple of down years in there where like that kind of killed that. I think it gets all the way back this year. Um, their win total is 7.5. I have this team going 9-3.
Yeah.
I think Iowa State is legitimately going to compete for a Big 12 title. Like
Mm.
this is a team that is damn, damn good. They play a pretty weak out of conference schedule. They're going to win a lot of games. This defense is good. This offense is going to put up points. I like Iowa State a lot. I have them going 9-3, well above their 7.5 win total.
Yeah, I remember when we were covering the Big 12 last year, there was talk out of your camp about Matt Campbell just being a guaranteed fire this year or like going into 2023. It was like coaches that will be fired, and it's Matt Campbell. And then Iowa State actually out of nowhere kind of was good. So I don't know if this is projecting an apology by you putting them at 9-3. I think that's high. I don't like them as much. I don't know how I am not like a Rocco Beck hater, but I haven't seen enough. I think Abu Sama's fun. I don't like their weapons that much. I think 7-5 is what I have written down, and you say it's 7.5 is their total, so I think that makes sense.
Yeah, if you're just gonna call me an idiot, just come out and say it with your chest, Nick. Say it with
Mm-mm.
your chest.
No, I'm just giving you free therapy. That's all.
Free therapy. God damn.
Diagnosed. Yep.
All right. Well, before we get into our next team, if you guys have not checked out my betting guide, I know we've talked about it a couple times, but it is linked in the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube, or it's in my bio if you're listening to the podcast version. Go check that out. $20. I'm telling you, you will win $20 worth of bets buying this guide. It is not you're not buying my picks. My picks are in there, but my picks are always going to be free. What you are buying is a tool to help you make the best informed bets of your life. This is the year, Nick, that we kick the bookies' ass. We are going to go into Vegas and make them our bitch, and we are going to win all the money. And if you do that, look at my bio, $20 for that betting guide. I think it's worth every penny. It's 100+ pages of content. So go check that out.
Yep, highly recommended.
Kansas is ranked in the top 25 preseason for the first time since 2009, Nick.
Yeah.
Tell me about this Kansas team.
Honestly, let's just take a moment on that as a whole, because that's so crazy how vivid my memory is of 2017, 2018. So, you're just riffing with the boys and saying, you know, oh, that's the Kansas of the Big 12, or like something that's the worst of its craft. You would compare it to Kansas. Like, oh, that's Kansas college football. So the fact that they have not only just become respectable, because they were the least respected entity in all of college sports, in my opinion. They are not only respectable, but they are in the top 25. It is like a massive rejoice. I will always, for the rest of my life, be happy when Kansas is good at football. It's just they were miserable. So it's nice. It's like if Vanderbilt all of a sudden was a perennial top 25 team in football, I'd be like, wow, good for them, man. Not going to happen though, right? That's what we were saying about Kansas. So I'm very happy about that in that sense. And I think they have a really fun squad. You could argue the most potential for entertainment in the Big 12, even over in Arizona or Colorado, because their quarterback, I think, is, more unique and more fun than a Shedeur Sanders. I think Jalen Daniels is better scrambling, more Lamar Jackson vibes from him. Devin Neal, if you don't know the name, that's crazy because you'll learn it this year. Kobe Bryant at corner. He's a character. Shout out Kobe, follows me on Instagram. I like this Kansas team a lot. I hope they're good. I think they will be. I have 9-3 for them. Maybe right outside the playoff, but like by week 11, we're talking like, oh, Kansas, if they win this game next week, they're in. And that conversation is going to just give me goosebumps.
I want to call your memory back to a game. This game was 2021. The Oklahoma State went 12-2. Baylor went 12-2 in that conference. But
yeah, I remember that.
This was a year. This game, 57-56. Kansas beats Texas. Texas becomes the absolute laughing stock of the Big 12. They won on a 2-point conversion in overtime by their fullback, who caught it. It was an unbelievable play. But that team ended up going 2-10 that year. They went 1-6 in conference. This is 1-8 in the conference.
Yeah,
2-10 on the year. And the quarterback of that team was Jalen Daniels. And the running back on that team was Devin Neal, and the
Wow.
cornerback on that team was Kobe Bryant. And the fact that those guys have stuck around to take this program from a 2-10 finish to a year where their win total is 8.5, and they legitimately have a shot to play for a Big 12 championship, and they legitimately have a shot to make it to the college football playoff, and they are ranked in the AP top 25. That's so fucking cool. I love college football.
Dude. Yeah, I just got goosebumps.
Chills,
Fire
dude.
me the
Chills,
up.
chills for those
That
dudes.
is sick, dude. And you know what?
God.
That Texas win is probably why they stayed too. Like
Yeah.
that's why if you're 2-10, those like every game matters, man. Like especially with the transfer portal now, like feeling that energy of like, wow, we can do something like that the next year. You know, you see those improvements, you want to stay, you want to stick it out, and now all of them are seniors coming back to get glory. You know what? I honestly want to change my answer and have them at 10-2 and have them making the college football playoff for that reason because this is their
Yeah.
year, man. This is Kansas's year.
God.
They just
How can you not root for that?
come
You
on,
gotta love it. Love it. All right.
golly. Oh
Let's
man,
keep it moving in the
that's so good.
Sunflower
Okay,
State. Kansas State. This is a team that they are coming off a 9-4 season under Chris Kleiman. Huge W in the Pop Tarts Bowl, obviously. We can't forget that. That was one of truly, though, one of the best bowl games of the year. I'm so all in on the Wildcats, dude. I'm so all in on this Kansas State team. Avery Johnson is legit. I truly believe that if Will Howard had stayed at Kansas State and he had stayed in Manhattan, that he would not be the starter this year. That's how good Avery Johnson is. He was so good
wow,
that they were inserting him into the offense and giving him drives during the end of the year last year, during the end of the regular season. Like that, you could not keep him off the field. That's how good he was. And then now you get Kansas State in a Big 12 that no longer has Oklahoma and they no longer have Texas, and anybody can be the top dog in this conference. I think Chris Kleiman is one of the most underrated coaches in all of college football. This is a team that has every ounce of talent on this roster. They brought in transfer running back from Colorado. They have DJ Giddens, who is outstanding, and then now they have Dylan Edwards. Like, this is a team, they are going to run the ball and be so dynamic in the way that they do it. They are going to be so much fun to watch. I'm incredibly excited for this Kansas State team. I have them going 11-1. I
ooh,
have them going 11-1. This team
what's
is that damn good, dude. I'm so high on Kansas State.
so what's their win total? Out of curiosity, because
Their win total is 9.5.
okay, so I have Kansas State going 10-3. So I am right there with you. And as you can see, that means that I have them in the conference championship game. So spoiler, you know who my other team is in the conference championship game. The only thing that worries me is like Cooper Beebe leaving and some
Yep.
like reshaping of the offensive line because I remember watching games last year where DJ Giddens, who was a true sophomore, I believe, last year,
Yep.
he would 25 touches, 700 yards, 5 touchdowns. Like there were games where it was like these holes are so big. This guy is unbelievable. So now they have him as a junior and Dylan Edwards, who's incredible, transfer to Colorado. Is that offensive line going to be as good? Probably not. I don't think it needs to be, but it was kind of historically good. It felt like as far as the film that I watched trying to study DJ Giddens' film. I also like Avery Johnson a lot. I think they're well coached. I think making the Big 12 championship makes sense in my head. We'll see if I have them winning it. I don't know, but yeah, I have them 10-3. I like that team a lot.
A little gambling note for you before we move on to Oklahoma State. Chris Kleiman is the third best coach in power conference football against the spread. He covers the spread at a 65% rate. That's
Yeah, and that's as long as the
unbelievable.
sample size is big enough, that shit is real. Like there's
Uh,
he's a master motivator.
I can tell
Or
you,
whatever.
Chris Kleiman was hired by Kansas State in 2019. So that's a 4 year,
Five.
um, 5 year, yeah, 5 year, you know, thing there.
Yeah,
So
60
yeah, that's
plus
a sample
games.
size.
Big enough for me. Okay.
Yep. Oklahoma State. They return essentially their entire offensive line. Ollie Gordon is an absolute driving force of that offense, whether he may or may not be inebriated while he does it. And Mike Gundy is one of the most consistent faces of college football as this team's head coach. It is they're returning Alan Bowman at quarterback. Like this team is the model of running the ship back. They went 10-4 last season, like had a damn good year. Like this Oklahoma State team exceeded expectations. There was one team that I was very, very right about last season, and that was Oklahoma State. I predicted them to go 10-2 in the regular season. They did. Now, how they got there was a little weird. They lost to South Alabama. That was a
Hmm.
weird ass game. And they didn't just lose, they lost like what, 33-7? That was a
Yeah,
whooping.
they got destroyed. Yeah, but
This
it's
year,
so well. Yeah, this year, who knows? My point was going to be there's just a weird level of inconsistency with Oklahoma State, a level of like you don't
yeah,
really know what you're going to get. And I was going to use that South Alabama game as collateral in that sense, but it feels like kind of my whole life it's been, when they're really feeling good, they're confident, they can go win the Big 12. Absolutely, they could make the playoff. Um, but one thing goes wrong, something like they could just go from 7-1 looking dominant to losing really like to like the BYU team that I think is terrible. Like that wouldn't surprise me. So I never feel confident enough, in Gundy's squad to have them where I think their talent could take them. So I have them at 9-3. Um, but like I do think that they could be really good. They could be the cream of the crop in the Big 12. It's just I don't know if I'm willing to ride that train. They haven't showed me that yet.
what do you think their win total is?
Um, I would say it's probably. I mean, I feel like I've been around it, so 8.5,
7.5.
7.5.
Yep. Their win total is 7.5. Kansas State's win total is 9.5. Oklahoma State is one spot above Kansas State in the AP top 25. Something to think about.
What
Something to
are
think
there? How
about.
many teams? I guess there are a couple, but yeah, maybe the Big 12 is just a little deeper than people think this year. But it feels like there aren't really any teams that are like 9.5, 10.5. Like it feels like everyone's kind of in that jumble.
They have four teams that I think are really good, and I don't think they have a great team. They have two teams with a win total at 9.5. That's Kansas State and Utah. And then they have a
Hmm.
couple teams at 7.5. UCF is at 7.5. Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State, Arizona. Kansas
UCF
is
and
actually at eight
Arizona
and a
are
half.
both 7.5.
Yes,
That
UCF.
is
That's
asinine.
so wild. That's so
Asinine.
wild to me. I know, yeah, crazy. But anyway, I also have Oklahoma State going 9-3. Should be
Nice.
like death, taxes, Mike Gunny winning 8 to 9 games. Like he just
Yep.
does it pretty much each and every year. Um, TCU. So Sonny Dykes, obviously, they take a major step back from his, phenomenal first year as a head coach. Now to his second year as a head coach, they go 5-7. They miss a bowl game. Are the rails falling off? I think people are kind of sleeping on this TCU team a little bit. Last year, they were historically like bad in terms of returning production. They returned less than 30% of their production from last season. That's almost unheard of. To put it in perspective, the teams with the least returning production this year are 36%, 37, and 37. And that's North Carolina, Washington, and Michigan. So the TCU lost so much talent. And they also had a pretty difficult schedule. This year, I think the schedule's a little bit lighter and they return a lot more of their production from last year. They're 14th in returning production in terms of power conference teams. I think this is the year that Sonny Dykes rights the ship, right? I think last year was a hard overcorrection, and I think this year TCU kind of gets back on track a little bit.
Yeah, I have them going 7-5. I'm kind of right there with you. I feel like people have kind of done a complete 180 with Sonny Dykes, where it's like, right after the national championship game, or let's say right before the national championship game, you were like, rank your top 10 coaches in college football. Sonny Dykes is probably like number 3 or 4 on people's list. It's like, oh, this guy's incredible. He got TCU to the national championship game. Then they got blown out, and people were like, oh, so that was just the biggest fluke of all time. And then TCU didn't make a bowl game. And people were like, so yeah, I'm confirmed and correct in my thinking that it was a fluke. Sonny Dykes officially is like the 16th or maybe like the 40th best coach in Power 5 football. I still think he's up there. I think that there is a reason that they went to the college football playoff final. Like that, this is erasure of TCU's legacy and their ability to be good when you least expect it. 2014 TCU, 2011 or 2010 TCU, and then of course 2022. So I'm not saying they're going to be great, but I think people, when they kind of write off TCU kind of comes back a little bit and says, hey, we're here. It's a tap on the shoulder thing,
Yep. I also have them going 7-5. The next team, let's talk about the Red Raiders. Texas Tech. I don't know how to feel about this team at all. I like their quarterback, Baron Morton, who shout out Kobe Bryant on Instagram. Morton follow. Can't talk. I'm going to cut this. That was so bad. I lost my train of thought so hard. It was unbelievable. Anyway, we're back. Texas Tech. This is a team that I cannot put my finger on. I like their quarterback, Baron Morton, but outside of that, offensively, I think there's a lot of question marks. Joey McGuire, they were so hyped last season, and they got so close a lot of times. They played a really close game with Oregon that if it wasn't for an interception late, that was a one-possession game right down to the wire. This is a team that, like, they've played good close games, and they just couldn't quite get there. They were 7-6 last year. What are your thoughts on this Texas Tech team, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, if we're patting ourselves on the back for being correct on things from last year, this is probably the one that I was the most correct about as far as the Big 12 goes. And that's just that I was selling Texas Tech stock. I was shorting them, basically, like hard, because every video, every podcast you listen to, every graphic from some guy you follow on Instagram was saying, sleeper, biggest sleeper, Texas Tech. Like, they're going to crush their over. They're, sneaky going to make the college football playoff. It's like, no, they're not. That's not even close. Yes, that Oregon game was close. I never felt fear watching that game as an Oregon bettor in that game. I don't like anything else about. I honestly think they got worse, if I'm being honest. So, I have Texas Tech going 7-5, but I kind of think 6-6 might be a play. What's their win total? It's probably 7.5.
Their win total is 7.5. So
yeah, so I have them going 7-5, but I like the under there. I think 6-6 is in play.
Yep, I have them going 7-5 as well. UCF. Gus Malzahn brings in KJ Jefferson, who had, let's be very honest, a supremely underwhelming year last year with Arkansas. But was that much more of Arkansas? Was it KJ Jefferson? Gus Malzahn has had good quarterbacks in the past, and this is a schedule that it's pretty easy. Their out of conference is cakewalk outside of the Florida game in the swamp, which shout out Florida for playing. Florida is playing just a brutal schedule, but this team's win total is 7.5. And we made the comment earlier, this team has the same win total as Arizona. And I just can't possibly believe that. They have the same odds to win the Big 12 title as Arizona at plus 1,000. I just unbelievably cannot agree with that. I have this team going 5-7. I just don't think they're good. Like, they're not good. They got some running backs in the portal, but like, I'm not a believer.
It's really concerningly confusing to me. It makes me think that there's just something I'm missing. What about this Arizona team am I missing? I need to just reevaluate
I don't.
because to me they are top for me, and UCF is not even close, and Vegas thinks they're the same, so that's concerning. Um, I have UCF going 5-7 as well, Cody.
We are just we are on the same page with our predictions here outside of like the early hot start, but I don't.
Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see. All right,
yeah, we're
let's talk.
different. I think we're different on Iowa State, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
remember. There was one other one where it was like or Cincinnati. I think I have them at 6-6. But yes, you're right.
yeah.
In Arizona.
So let's move to Utah. This is the favorite to win the Big 12 in year one. They are coming over from the Pac-12. They went 8-5 last season, but that 8-5 was one of the grittiest 8-5 seasons we've seen a power conference team put on in a long time. They had every quarterback injury that you could possibly conceive. They had Brent Keefe, their stud tight end, missed the entire season. And now this is a Utah team that they get back Cam Rising for a 7th year of college football. They get back Keefe, and they have Kyle Whittingham. Death, taxes, and Kyle Whittingham winning 9-10 games because that's just what this Utah team does. They are so damn good. And I think they rightfully are favored to win the Big 12. I mean, I think on paper, this might be the best roster in the conference. And they, in my mind, without a shadow of a doubt, have the best head coach in the conference.
Yeah, I do agree about the head coach thing. I mean, he's one of the longest tenured head coaches in college football, if not the longest. It's since like early 2000.
He has a chance this year to win a conference title at Utah in the Mountain West, in the Pac-12, and in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So he could have 3 conference titles at the same school. That's crazy.
Well, he was Urban Meyer's replacement, right?
Yep.
And so Meyer did it in 2005, maybe. So it was probably 2006 when Meyer went to Florida and Whittingham comes in. So, yeah, going on 20 years pretty much. Obviously, I mean, Cam Rising is such an enigma. Just the ambiguity around him at this point, it almost feels like people are guaranteeing he's going to be good because he's 25 years old and was good before all this weird stuff. But I don't know. I think there's a possibility that this weird stuff made him worse. He's just been away. He doesn't have as many reps as you'd like from your starter in the past 2 years. He has like 0 reps in 2 years. I love Keithy. I think he's like a George Kittle type guy. He's awesome. The new Brock Bowers of college football. I think you could argue they probably have the best defense in this conference as well, because this conference is not known for defense. They always win the Taco Bell student section freaking thing. So they have a great student section. Everything's kind of just like good as far as Utah football. But for some weird reason, I have them at 10-2. But like there's some tiebreaker or something where I don't have them in the championship game. So
yeah, this Utah team is damn good. I also have them at 10-2. I just can't. Their home field advantage is, in my mind, one of the best in the country. Like the student section coupled with the elevation and everything, I think it's outstanding. But they play a lot of road games at Utah State, at Oklahoma, at Arizona State, at Houston, at Colorado, at UCF.
At Oklahoma, what did you say? Or did I just
at Oklahoma State? Sorry.
Okay, Oklahoma State.
Sorry. So yeah, this is a team it's damn good. We'll see how it goes, but I have them 10-2 as well. Last team in the conference. I'm high on this team. I'm high on this team, and they opened the season with one of the best games of Week 1. West Virginia plays Penn State in Week 1 at home. At home. Country roads take me home. I think this team is going to be so much fun to watch. I could not have been. You want to talk about me talking about coaches getting fired? I thought Neil Brown was a dead man walking
Yes,
last year.
yes, yes,
I
yes.
thought he was going to be fired before the end of September. And damn it, was I wrong. They went 9-4 last year. They completely blew my expectations out of the water. I think I had them at like 4-8. This was one of the teams that I was very, very wrong about. And you know what? I'm okay with it because Garrett Green is fun. And this is a team that like they are productive offensively. He had 16 passing touchdowns and 13 rushing touchdowns. The dude was electric to watch. And I think they will be once again electric to watch this year. You get that game with Penn State in week 1, and then you get the backyard brawl against Pittsburgh in week 3. Like there's going to be some appointment television for this West Virginia team, and I'm excited to watch. They're going to be a fun football team.
I agree. I think they're going to be really fun. I fear that I have them going 0-2 to start, and I'm not going to be rooting for that. I'm going to be rooting pretty aggressively for them to beat Penn State because week 1, you always want to see the upsets. You want to see, the fans are going to storm the court. Penn State, James Franklin, of course they lost. We have things to talk about going into week 2 in that sense. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. And then I have Pitt winning because backyard brawl, anything can happen. So unlucky in that sense. I do think they're going to be pretty good, same as last year, really, as far as Big 12 play goes. But because of those 2 early losses, I have them going 7-5. I think you could argue West Virginia has the second best defense in the Big 12, which is crazy to say because that's never been the case. But I like some guys on their secondary. They have a couple draft prospects, I believe, that I just can't remember the names on, but I was doing my top 100 players of college football, and I came across a good amount of West Virginia defenders that I was like, wait a second. With Garrett Green and that offense and the unpredictability of it, and then a not bad defense, this will be a fun team. So I'm with you, but I have them 7-5.
Yep, I have them at 8-4. So their win total 6.5. I feel pretty confident in that win total. So 51 minutes down, Nikki, and that is the Big 12. But we got to do our championship winner and then the draft. But before we get into our championship prediction, Home Field, shout out Home Field. They make the best college merch in the game. And I know that the Big 12 has some teams with some absolutely elite merch. Utah's merch line with the Rose, outstanding. They have some really, really cool merch for Arizona State, the Sun Devils, because they have a good logo. But any Home Field apparel that you buy, you can get 15% off with code Nick15 on your first purchase. They have the football boxes, which are absolutely outstanding. Get you prepared for football season. The best merch in the game. So link in our bios or in the description of this video. Go check that out. Nick, we already know your championship game. Talk about it.
Yeah, I have Arizona playing Kansas State. Now, this is what I want to say first and foremost, because this whole 51-minute episode so far, I've just been confused about Arizona and how clearly something's wrong. So I'm going to take a win away from them. The problem if I do that, though, is that then they are 10-2 with a loss to Utah, which I think would be the most obvious candidate for a team that would beat them because Arizona would have to go into Utah. So then Utah would have the tiebreaker. And then I think Arizona would then be out. So that would throw a wrench into everything. So I just want to preface by saying these are official. These are not official because I don't think the math is mathing right now for me. So I have Arizona beating Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game. However,
it's the concepts, not the record. Throw out the records. This is the concept of the championship game.
Exactly. So I have Arizona winning and making the college football playoff. If you think that's crazy, please find my Instagram, find my TikTok, find my Twitter. Let me know why, because I honestly want to be convinced out of it before I place a wager on them plus 1,000. Because it really feels like that is incredible value in my head. I really like this Arizona team, and I like Brent Brennan. Maybe it's my fault for thinking Brent Brennan is an overlooked good head coach that did great things with San Jose State. Maybe that's my problem.
If it makes you feel any better, I don't have Arizona winning. They're not in my championship game, but I will be at plus 1,000. I will be putting money on that because that's just too good of a bet not to place. That being said, my title game is Kansas State and Utah. They are the two favorites to win this conference. I'm going with Kansas State. I think this is a team with Chris Kleiman and Avery Johnson. I think we have a really unique or a really what would be a cool potential to have a Ohio State and Will Howard match up against his former team in Kansas State in the college football playoff. Talk about a storyline that would be. So I'm taking as my champion Kansas State over Utah for the Big 12. I think that would be, I think it could be a lot of fun. I think it could be a ton of fun. This conference, there are 7 teams plus 1,000 or fewer odds to win the conference.
This conference is always chaotic, Cody. It's always that's and that's why I think maybe I stick with Arizona. I think I'm definitely sticking with Arizona as my winner. I just have to work out some of the kinks, but anything can happen in this conference, man. Like it's so hard to predict. So take everything we say with a grain of salt, obviously, because take anything anybody says with a grain of salt. No one really knows what's going to happen as far as this conference goes.
And that's the beauty of college football. The other beauty of college football is getting and going to the games. There is no experience like watching a college football game in person. And if you are going to go to a game this year, use promo code SMASHHITSSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's where we get all of our tickets to make sure that we can go to some elite games. Like if I could go to that Arizona at Utah game this year, I absolutely would, because that game is going to be tremendous. So if you are going to any games this year, use promo code SMASHHITSSPORTS. Get $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. All right. Big 12 draft time. It's draft time, Nick. And I let you go first in the ACC, and I think that was only right. You are an ACC guy. You are the Clemson aficionado. So, and you hate some of the other teams in that conference. So it felt good.
Yeah, no. So and Cody, let me just say it. I'll say it. I'm going to be a nice guy here, and I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to give you that.
That right. What a guy.
Pass. Yeah, you're welcome.
That's fair. That's fair. The fans were shitting on your Acrisure Stadium pick. So I think,
we knew that was going to happen. Happen.
But the Big 12.
And the thing is, I didn't put a picture in it. Like we said we got, like, if I'm gonna have a chance, I need to have a beautiful picture of the river flowing behind and the bridge, because then people will be like, "Oh, that is a beautiful stadium." But no, everyone's like, "Ew, Pittsburgh." And that's fair. So my mistake. We'll learn from it.
Yep. That being said, my first pick, real easy. I think he is one of the best head coaches in college football, and I think this is kind of where he separates himself from every other, coach in the conference. I'm going Kyle Whittingham.
Okay, yeah, and it's tricky. That's tricky, but I think I have to go Ollie Gordon. I think he is just you could argue the best player in the nation. So I kind of feel like I can't not pick him in the first round and go ahead and get that on my team.
Yeah, if you were going to pick a non-quarterback to win the Heisman this year, I think it's got to be Ollie Gordon. I just don't think there's any other guy.
Maybe like Travis Hunter. Like a lot of the guys in the Big 12 are kind of those guys. But anyway, off to you.
That's fair. Wide receiver. Do I want to go wide receiver? That's tough. And I used Utah for my defense, which means
for your coach?
For my coach, which means I can't use them for my defense, and they are very obviously the best defense in this conference.
Yeah, it's good. That's good that happened.
So I'm going to pick stadium here. There are a lot of great stadiums in the Big 12. Rice-Eccles Stadium is a great stadium. Boone Pickens Stadium in Oklahoma State is a great stadium, but I'm going to pick a stadium of a team that stinks, and I'm not going to use them in any other thing here. and that is Lavelle Edwards Stadium of
No,
BYU. Yeah,
I was going to pick
that
that.
was
What a
it.
steal.
Look, it's a great pick. That could have been your first. You went best running back. You could have gone best stadium with Ollie. So I'm going Lavelle Edwards Stadium
I know, but I was hoping you would go
of
Boone
BYU.
Pickens.
Ah,
Just because I was like, oh, if I pick Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State, you go Boone Pickens, blah blah blah. Here's a question for you, Cody. What if could I use theoretically UCF's new stadium plan as my stadium? Because
no.
new stadium plan looks awesome.
Yeah, no shit. The renderings look cool. That doesn't mean you get to. This is this
No,
year,
it's completely
pal.
brand new. Like like you got to look at some of the blueprints, man. They look awesome. But yeah, whatever. Maybe I'll use the bounce house. That'll be
Yeah, I
later
do
down the
love
line.
the bounce house. If you
Bounce
had to
house
go
is
off of
really fun.
stadium
So
names, the
yeah, it's cool. So um, for me, you did that. I think you left me the best wide receiver, so I'm gonna take the best wide receiver, and that's Tetairoa McMillan.
that
Gotta go.
that pains me. That pains me.
Yeah,
I really wanted to pick McMillan, honestly, but I had to go stadium, and it felt good.
you did. You
But
stole the
yeah,
stadium from me. So
McMillan is that's a great pick. I mean, I truly there are a couple wide receivers in this conference that are like very very good, but I think McMillan truly has a chance to be one of the best in the country, and that's saying something. So
yeah.
you got McMillan. I'm gonna go with my uniform here. I think there are a lot of really, really cool uniforms in this conference. I think the Oklahoma State has some great unis. I think um, that Arizona has some good uniforms. Colorado has some good uniforms, but I have to go far and away the best alternates, some of the best alternates in all of college football. The Space U uniforms of UCF, the Citronaut, everything
Mhm.
about that is outstanding. So I'm going with UCF's Space U.
Yeah, which I had on my top three here for jerseys. My other
Okay.
two um, are the Houston jerseys honoring the Oilers, which I think they got sued for.
Oh, fuck. I didn't even think about those. And they said, hey, guess what? We're still wearing them because they're
Yeah, those
awesome.
are
So,
so clean. And then Arizona has some white and gold jerseys that I think are just absolutely phenomenal. But um, the question is, I know you can't pick Utah for defense, so I have that. You can't pick another head coach. So it's really, do I want to take tradition or a QB, or do I just take my uniform now? I feel like the smart play here would be but tradition I have to think about. So I will go quarterback. I will go quarterback, and I will take Jalen Daniels.
damn it.
I can't take Fafita, and I thought about Shadur
Yeah.
Sanders, but I love Jalen Daniels.
Yeah. He would have been my number one pick at quarterback. There's a lot of quarterbacks that I like. Like, obviously, Shadur is outstanding. You have Avery Johnson. I love Avery Johnson. But yeah, I mean that's a great pick. That puts me in a tough situation. I think I'm going to get out ahead of defense. I know you haven't picked it yet, and I know that it's probably going to be Utah. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and get West Virginia off the board. Um, I think,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna go West Virginia defense off the board just to get them because they are good, and I like them quite a bit. So West
yeah. I think they
Virginia.
are I see. I don't know how well that pick's going to play on the graphic as far as people being knowledgeable about the fact that West Virginia actually kind of has a sneaky good defense. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, so then
We're just gonna
as
hope that
far
people
as
watch the podcast and know ball. Like, you know what I
exactly,
mean? I
so
said, watch the pod.
you got to watch the pot. You guys got to watch that. So tradition is the only one we haven't touched yet. That is tricky because I love like the Baylor line where they get all the freshmen and they all sprint full speed towards their seats just to
Yeah,
cross the field. I would love to be a part of that so bad, so bad. Like I'd pay just to do it as a 25-year-old. There's so many, the tortilla tossing in Lubbock.
Yep.
But nothing's better than Take Me Home Country Roads, right?
I was so close to going that, and I picked their defense instead, and I
Yeah.
almost was like, wait, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Yeah,
Yeah. So
it's a
I
tremendous tradition.
have to take that. Just if I'm playing to win here, because I think you clearly beat me in the ACC one. Uh, as far as just interactions go, I'm going Take Me Home Country Roads here, and
And
that should seal the deal for me, really. But go
yeah,
ahead.
that's gonna play so well on the graphic. That's gonna play so well on the graphic. Damn, brutal. I'm also going to go tradition, and there are a lot of cool traditions in the Big 12, like we just talked about. But I love running Ralphie. I love running Ralphie. Give me that
Or
Buffalo, dude. Give me
yeah,
that Buffalo,
Buffy's really
dude.
cool. He's like a really like. If I were to be an animal, I'd like to be Ralphie. I think that would be
Yep.
my choice. Like if I had to trade places with an animal. So good pick. A lot of cool traditions in the Big 12. I kind of just learned some. I didn't know about the Texas Tech one. All right, so what's left for me? I need my head coach, defense, stadium, and uniform.
Mhm.
I will go with the Houston uniform, the Oilers Houston uniform. Those are awesome. And the lore behind it now is great as well because again, they did get sued and they said, "We don't care." Because they're that
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, and they are that cool. Um, I'm gonna go running back here, and there are a handful of good
Curious.
ones
Very yeah.
in this. I haven't used. Uh, See, this is tough because I want to go. I have to use Kansas State here somewhere, and I either use Kansas State Avery Johnson or I use DJ Giddens. But I think I'm going to go DJ Giddens at running back. I think he's outstanding. Dylan Edwards is great too. Honestly, you could go either one there. But I'm going to go DJ Giddens at running back. I think he's outstanding. He was electric last year. He's going to be great again this year. So I'm going DJ Giddens.
Yeah. And I love DJ Giddens. I like that pick. Taj Brooks was an option there. It's Devin Neal. Like there are a good amount of options. I will go ahead and take the Utah defense now, which leaves me with coach and stadium. Utah defense. And really in the Big 12, there are no elite defenses. So it's really hard. Like, I don't think there's any less value in you taking West Virginia than me taking Utah. I just think that Utah probably has the best talent. And they got some good transfers. They're always good. Their D line's always good. All the
Yeah,
Hawaiian.
yeah, I would agree. Quarterback here, I'm going to go Noah Fafita. I have not used Arizona yet, and I think that he is like Shadur Sanders is a great quarterback, but I already used Run and Ralphie. Avery Johnson, great quarterback. Already used DJ Giddens, so I'm going to go Noah Fafita here. Just one hell of a QB.
Yeah, I love Noah Fafita. I think he's a sneaky Heisman guy, and it seems like a lot of people don't agree. So we'll have to see. What does this leave me with? Stadium and head coach. So head
Stadium and
coach,
head
I
band.
can't go Gundy. I honestly think that out of my options, I could go like a Matt Campbell here, but I think I'm going Sonny Dykes. If we're going resume wise, Sonny Dykes has made it to
Ooh,
a college football playoff final. He's the only Big 12 coach ever to make it to a college football playoff final, right?
yes, because Oklahoma never won one, and Texas didn't win one. So
So I have therefore the head coach that has gone the farthest in this conference. So
yeah,
I
I
don't know what people are going to think though, but we'll see.
I think a different edge on that too. If you wanted to go Lance Leipold, I think that would have played too.
I
But
have
yeah,
Jalen
Sonny
Daniels,
Dyke.
But yeah,
Oh yeah. I forgot that you had Jalen Daniels. So that does, yeah. Sonny Dykes. That's a great pick. At wide receiver, I can't pick Travis Hunter, who is outstanding, but I think I'm going to go with a team that they might stink and they're going to be down a lot, but I'm going to go with Sammy Brown of
mm,
Houston. I think that he is very underrated, and we'll see how much because they were pass heavy as hell the last couple of years. We'll see how much they are this year under Willie Fritz. But if he can put up the same level of production, I think he's a really, really underrated wide receiver. So I'm going to go Sammy
underrated.
Brown underweighted. Sammy Brown
Sammy Brown,
of
you picked
Houston.
Sammy Brown.
Sammy
Um,
Brown.
yeah, good pick. I don't. I'm honestly not well versed in Samuel Brown. I believe he goes by Samuel. I don't know. I could be wrong, but from what I read, that is all I know is that it said Samuel. And Clemson has a linebacker that he goes by Sammy Brown. So
Oh yeah,
um,
that dude is beefed up. That
yeah,
that dude is huge.
he 5-star freshman should probably play a lot for us as a freshman because we don't get transfers. So
Yep.
all right, that leaves me with stadium, and the problem here is that I just don't know, like where these stadiums rank in the general public's perception because I mean the good ones, the ones that I know people love, I can't pick. I've already used that school, so now I'm
Yep.
like Texas Tech Stadium. I don't know. Do people like that stadium? They might hate it. I don't know.
Yep.
Cincinnati, do they play in a cool stadium? I don't know, but I know the Bounce
As somebody
House.
who's That's
Yeah,
fair.
what?
As somebody who's been to Nippert Stadium, I love Nippert, but it's biased because I've been there, 10
Yeah,
times. So,
I think I just have to go Bounce House because I know it.
yep.
Um, and I've always been enthralled by the name of it. It's really cool. And I think just as far as the words on the graphic, people might be like, "Oh, that's cool," and
That will go hard. That will go hard.
we'll see.
All right.
But I
So
think that wraps it up.
yep. So as you have the bounce house absolutely shaking on a Saturday night, you have Jalen Daniels handing the ball off to Ollie Gordon or pulling that thing on an RPO and launching it down the field to Teroa McMillan. And then, as your tradition at the end of the game, you're singing Take Me Home, Country Roads. You're wearing the Houston Oilers throwback unis. And all of that has been put together by a guy who has led a team to a national title game in Sonny Dykes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
freaking sweet, dude. This team's
yeah,
going undefeated. This is the
yeah,
best draft I've
that's
ever had.
pretty damn sick.
The best
That's
draft I've
pretty
ever had in
damn
my life.
sick.
The best draft I've ever had in my
And
life.
on the other
And
hand,
and yeah, you honestly you have it. You're locked in, so I'll let you do your own.
yeah, look, Kyle Whittingham knows how to build a program, right? This is a guy, he's been there, he's done that. And him and Noah Fafita are going to put on an absolute clinic offensively. Sammy Brown, an underrated weapon, and then DJ Giddens at running back. And all of that is going to be in the beautiful background of Lavelle Edwards Stadium. You have the mountains in the background, and you are as close to space as you can possibly get in those Space U uniforms. The West Virginia defense is going to be as locked down as ever, and all of it starts on a Saturday at noon by Runnin' Ralphie.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm going to be
Yep.
honest. I think you might have got this one. I think.
Well, yeah, my draft.
I think you may have. I think you may have gotten an unprecedented level of success at your program.
It almost feels like I didn't have someone drafting against me. Is kind of how it is. It feels like
that's kind of fucked up. That's kind of fucked up.
I had
I'm going to be
the first
honest.
pick and only pick in the first round, and then it just went back to me, and I got to pick whoever I wanted. The only pick was Lavelle Edwards. That's the only pick that I went bounce house. I wanted to go Lavelle. I also wanted Boone Pickens, but I couldn't get that either. So, yeah, well, good draft. I'll make the graphic. I'll try to send it over to you so like the quality is better because it kind of looks like it was a little worse than it should have been.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Well, if you made it to this point of the podcast, be a friend, tell a friend. It's the best way to help us grow, and make sure that you subscribe. We are going to do the Big Ten up next. So if you guys have any hot Big Ten takes, make sure that you leave them in the comments of this video or DM us on Instagram, and we will see you in the next one.